Hello, this is Cheryl, and I'm so grateful you're joining me today. Trust that this safe and loving space is exactly where you are meant to be, to ignite your higher self and empower you in this very moment in time. There are no coincidences, so trust the nudges that call to you. As I open, channel, and share today's light-filled conversation, take what resonates with you and leave the rest. We are all working to uncover the truths that will serve us on our unique journeys. Each new day brings discovery, and this truth is always empowering, illuminating, and available to us. Now is your moment to deepen your spiritual connection. If it's light, it's right. Hello and welcome to another episode of If It's Light, It's Right. Thank you for coming. Today's episode was truly inspired by Spirit, giving me what I needed. It's called Divine Timing, and the topic for today is synchronicity. Now, I know we've heard this word over and over in so many different fashions, and it really is just a word to describe people and how they feel about certain things. I'm going to keep this topic in the main understanding, in the main kind of clarity and vein of loved ones in spirit. When they send messages or the timing of that. Our higher spirit, we'll talk about our higher spirit, our soul, and we'll also talk about messages from the universe, from all light sources. And so I'm staying really in synchronicity in terms of a spiritual sense. So as we unfold for today's episode, that is where I'm going to stay. So we'll talk a little bit about background. I'm going to just kind of ease us into this as I normally try to work on. And then I'm going to talk about why synchronicity happens, some examples that maybe you see in your life of synchronicity, and how to validate, just a quick reference, how to validate when you say, was that a message? What was that? And then I'm going to share exactly the experience that I had of synchronicity as a medium and as a person. And when divineness gave me what I needed at the time I needed it. So stay tuned for that. So when we talk about spirit, I have to always start with the reminders and the foundations before we kind of dive into the main topic. Spirit's ever present. They're ever present. They're always helping us on our path. Always. All we have to do is just ask, right? They're always, whether it's us, our loved ones in spirit, past life spirit. I use it collectively when I call it the universe. They're always wanting to give us messages and guidance. We are not here alone. We are always being looked upon and held. And also, I have to also talk about our higher self, right? No one knows our path deep and strategic as our higher self because we developed it, right? We made those preparations. We knew what we would be coming in for. So our higher self is a very, very important aspect to remember and to use when we talk about synchronicity and timing. Because sometimes it is our higher self giving us those nudges, that movement, that forward motion. So stay open to that as well, because our higher self is always helping to give us love and comfort. Never more challenge. It is quite the reverse, right? Our human self pummels through that karmic residue and those aspects that we have to come and learn. But our higher self is saying, it's going to be okay. Let me help you. Let me give you a little bit of comfort here. So that is a big aspect of our spiritual beings, of our spiritual world, of us, our collective light, right? We're all connected. And so when we need help, we ask for it. We just ask for it, just as I did, and I'll share with that how it resonated and came through with me. And so I have to also remind you that as synchronicity kind of unfolds for each and every one of us, we come in and exist on this human plane, always spiritual, but in a human plane, we have varying degrees of being asleep and awake, right? We are fully awake in our spirit, but we also come to this earth's plane knowing that we will forget, that we need these reminders, these milestones or these stepping stones or these these aspects of synchronicity, that little word that means so much to help us to remember. And sometimes it's just one little memory and then lights are out again, and that's okay, right? That's okay. I'm going to share with you a quick little example of somewhat asleep and fully awake, and how it looks different based on an event that happened. So stay with me. I'm going to talk about myself and my husband. And you know where I am, and obviously you'll know where he is. So we're going to talk about that when we talk about the next part of synchronicity. So why does synchronicity happen? Why, what is it? Well, we come here knowing we're going to forget. We come here knowing we need reminders to remind us of home, to remind us of our path, to remind us of the light. And so we come with the greatest of superpowers called our psychic senses. And those psychic senses are our ability to see, feel, and hear spirit. We just have to fine tune that connection, right? We have to find our own way of connecting because we are also beautifully unique. And so as we walk through this journey, these aspects kind of give us those little nudges or pokes. And sometimes they're profound and sometimes they're just ever so little, but they are all parts of our walk. And we also have an ability of propheticness. And propheticness is knowing what the future is. And I'm talking about that in a human sense. In a spiritual sense, there is no future. We are in the same time factor. We are walking and moving, even in our path, even for all of you listening. We're in a present, past, and future dimension. So our spiritual beings are fully aware of that. Our human aspect has difficulty, as do I. I just trust it. I just trust it, and I get signs of that, but I really can't put into full concreteness that aspect of B, but I trust it and I know it. So I send that to you as well. And so let's also talk about some other buzzwords. Like synchronicity is a spiritual buzzword, right? It's a beautiful word. I love it. But it's a word that comes and goes. And that synchronicity is that purposeful timing to help us in our journey. And that's my definition. We also see that we also kind of investigate and do an aha to what we call another buzzword called deja vu, right? I made this a focus in episode 19 if you want to go back and look back. And that's a feeling of we've been here before and we knew this would happen. Like this is, I knew this was happening, or I forecasted this next step. It's a sense of a wow, saying, whew, I know I've been here before. There's a sense of knowing. And that's that deja vu feeling. And then another spiritual buzzword I'll include today is serendipity. And serendipity, the word is just adorable, isn't it? It's events that happen by chance that make you feel good. Serendipity is, how did this come to be? And this was such a beautiful, gathering of events, and here I am, and it feels good. It's a good feeling. So again, that divine timing could be named in so many different ways. So let's stay open because they're all spiritual mule kicks. And I use this word often because that's one of those things where I want you to envision it or imagine it. And it's just like a kick, and you're like, a kick in the gut or a kick in the shin or whatever it is, like, wow, I can't overlook that. That hit me directly. And those spiritual mule kicks are meant to be that way. And spiritual mule kicks look different to every spiritual being. So stay open to them. Stay open to them because you will see what you are asking to be seen. And sometimes it's not in your human sense, it really is your spiritual sense giving you what you need for your journey. And so when we talk about that, The next piece is we're going to talk about what synchronicity happens, some examples, and how you can validate. And we'll be right back after this short break. So, why does synchronicity happen? And I'm going to just stay again with that word and again the focus of loved ones in spirit forms, higher self, all of the collective light that helps us in our journey because our spirit needs it. We need, we need, well, our spirit needs to give our human self those experiences and those connections. Sometimes it's for a spiritual awakening. Right? Our spirit is giving us that kind of knock on the noggin saying, "Okay, this is what you were hoping to encounter. This is what you need. This is how you correct maybe or work through some lessons that you're going through. This is a spiritual awakening, and you've asked for that." It might be one significant synchronicity or spiritual mule kick or anything of light that just becomes a catalyst of change, good change for you, because that is our intention in this walk to ascend our souls higher, to learn the lessons we came to find peace in our journey, right? And so we're always in our spiritual beings and sometimes in our human beings. And like, again, my share is in my human. I consciously ask for this. So sometimes it's a mixture of both. So stay open to that. And every situation might look different. Stay open to that. And so our higher self, our loved ones, our spirits give us, and I'm going to give you two words that I used in episode 10. Along with the psychic senses, I did a whole series on that too. So if you want to review that, ready? If you're in a conversation or you're in an experience and you use the word weird or funny, I want you to take a pause. Because if you're in that context of curiosity of something deeper or what was that, and you use those words, I say 99% of the time, it has a spiritual base. It is something for you to sit with and digest, move further or not. No rules, no judgment, no have tos, right? But it is just maybe a little opening, maybe a slight awakening, maybe another step in your journey. That is what we need. That is what we ask for. And it helps us to move away from our ego, from our human self, from our kind of our human soul to lend itself to something maybe lighter. And again, depending if you're walking more asleep or fully awake, or any shades in between, it meets you at that level. So just open to it, not with any rules and not with any hard messages. Sometimes it's just a feeling that says, all right, there's something more here. Um, Sometimes that's all it is. So don't feel compelled to walk the whole line to the finish line. Often that's not the case. Often it is just an aha. That's interesting. And I ask you to put that word as a placeholder. Go back to your sentence where you said it's weird or funny and put the word interesting in there and see how the rest of that sentence or that feeling resonates with you, uh, and explore that, or just table it. Just table it, or ask for more signs, or validate. And we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. It's not extraordinary, right? These events are not. They might feel extraordinary, and they very well may be for your journey, but they're not from a spiritual knowledge, from a spiritual aspect. We ask for that. And your higher self might be giving you exactly what you've asked for, even though your conscious or your human self can't understand that or find how that could be. And that's okay, right? That's okay. Don't wrestle with that. Sit with that. So I want to just give you a quick example. It's a very in extraordinary. It's not ordinary. I mean, it's so ordinary. There's nothing special to it for maybe anybody else but me. But me. This was my experience with my husband. And again, my husband, he is intuitive. He doesn't give himself that badge quite yet. Um, he walks with that very gingerly. Where, as you know, I'm fully awake. I am looking for experiences. I'm looking to seek knowledge. I am forever learning. So again, we're in different places. So here's the experience. I came out of a store. And I am not a coin person. I don't. I know pennies from heaven and coins. That is not my messages. That is not how I resonate with messages. Because remember, how you resonate is how the universe will give it to you. But my eyes caught a coin on the ground, and the coin was a dime. And I picked it up, and I said, I felt there's going to be a sign or a message of sort with this finding. And I knew nothing more than that. Like I didn't investigate more. I felt like it would be light. It would not be heavy, and it had a nice feel to it, a very light, maybe funny. I don't really know, but it felt. And I just kind of smiled and I giggled. And I got in the car, and my husband said, "What was that you picked up?" I go, "I don't know. I picked up this dime, and I think there's going to be something with that today. I don't know." And so I put it in his console, and we went on our way. And he moved, he wanted to go buy a cigar. And so we went into the cigar, and I'm in the car waiting for him. Blah, 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 blah. And he comes out and he goes, "Funniest thing just happened." I said, "Really?" I said, "What?" And he says, he goes, "I wanted to pay for the cigar with cash." And I said, "All right." He goes, "But I didn't, it was a coin, and I needed a coin. And then a coin was found, and then it all revolved around a coin." And he laughed about it. He goes, "It was just so funny how that kind of just came to be." And we both started laughing. And I said to him, "That quarter or that coin, remember, stay open to your interpretation." I didn't find a quarter. I found a dime. But it wasn't about the denomination. It was money, that it was a coin. And so when he talked about it, I go, "That's my message, honey." And he goes, "What?" And I go, "That funny conversation that you had with the owner about the coin and how it came to be, all that." I go, that was what I was coming into." And he just looked at me like, "Ugh, I don't get that." And I say, "I know, but I did. I knew that felt exactly how I picked up that coin." Because remember, as I said earlier, we're living in that present, past, and future dimension. And for that day, I got a little chuckle from spirit saying, "Okay, all right, thank you for that. Thank you for putting that together for me and just giving me that spiritual experience." That's all it was. It was ordinary, but it was extraordinary for me. He absolutely dismissed it and found no understanding of it, but that message wasn't for him, right? He was just going to deliver that to me. And that very often happens with he and I. And that's that intuitiveness that he gives me what I need as well. So again, that experience, and maybe you're scratching your head and listening to this episode as well, but that was extraordinary for me, right? Just for me. It was a lighted exercise of knowing what was to come. And I get a spiritual smile and an affirmation with that. And I don't need to persuade or explain that to anyone else. I knew it. I knew it. I didn't even need to validate it. It's just my psychic senses and that clear cognizance of just knowing. I know it. I don't need it. It felt light and right to me. End of story. And again, so I send that to you to open to your ordinary/extraordinary synchronicities, right? So now let's talk about some examples of synchronicity that maybe you've experienced. Stay open, right? Because as I'm talking, maybe you will get different or supporting aspects of a spiritual meet that get downloaded as I talk. So stay open. So some examples, I just use these, and um, the timing of these examples is the aha. It is the the weird, the funny. There's something deeper, right? That feeling of, "Mm, I don't know what it is." And again, don't feel compelled to walk there, right? Don't feel, because when you feel compelled or I have to figure this out, you are inviting ego right in. And ego will never give you your answers. Your human aspect, your conscious mind will not give you those answers. Your spiritual mind, when you can shut that down, will give you more of an answer. Or I sometimes call it a popcorn trail to where you need to go. And sometimes it's just a lighted poke. That's all it is. And sometimes that's enough. And that's all that we need at that exact moment. Some other synchronicity pieces is when you are thinking about a loved one in spirit. A mom, a dad, a brother, a sister, a cousin, a friend, a colleague, whatever that is. And something happens at that time. And I don't mean at the exact time either sometimes. Sometimes it is around that time. And I leave that open to your interpretation. Often, again, like I talked about, I don't, my intent of finding pennies from heaven, I know that that's another spiritual buzzword. That is not part of how I feel spirit. I do understand that, especially in readings, that sometimes that is how people feel their loved ones. But other aspects are birds, right? Cardinals or blue jays, and we see them generally because they're colorful. I will say too, for me, intent with birds is when they fly right by me, like extremely close. Whether I'm in the car or walking, to me, sometimes that's synchronicity. Sometimes that's a sign for me. Hawks, beautiful, majestic birds that come at a time when a synchronicity event is happening. Sometimes that is a piece. And for me, it is really just being reminded that spirit is watching, spirit's holding me, spirit is, I might need a little bit more comfort that day. Not necessarily from a loved one in spirit, just by spirit. That is generally when I need comfort. Um, Maybe a song plays, a smelling of a scent, and that'll be some part of our share too. A photo, right? You just found this photo and maybe the timing of it is with a special day approaching, right? That synchronicity of those aspects happening maybe on the day of their passing or a birthday or your birthday or again, a special day approaching is sometimes when synchronicity becomes more apparent because our psychic senses are a little bit more open, or maybe we just crave that comfort a little deeper, and that's what we need from spirit. And remember, spirit is always working to give us what we need. um, Thinking about changing jobs or home or relationships, and maybe a letter or an email arrives to you to underscore this in some way, right? If say you're thinking about changing locations, and you get an email from a realtor, not a realtor you know, but a realtor, and you're like, wow, that is interesting that arrived here. Um, Maybe there's something for you to move towards, or or take responsibility for, or open to, right? There's so many different aspects that spirit visits for reasons. When you're driving and you maybe see signs, I'll give you an experience. I have a dear friend, and she has a dog named Archie. And I was driving along, and I said, "Oh, I gotta call that friend. It's been a week or so." And all of a sudden, I see this truck that drives by, synchronicity, at the same time, and it is a big sign that says Archie. I'm like, "Okay, there's my spiritual mule kick." I went right home and gave her a call. Nothing was up. It was just a validation for me that, yeah, I see, feel, and hear what you're doing, or yes, it's time to call. Um, Sometimes license plates and numbers come into place, right? I have certain numbers that mean something to me. I get this asked often, Cheryl, what do you think when you see 222? It doesn't that mean, and I don't even know what the book analyzing angels or I'm not even sure. I say, "What does it mean to you?" "I don't." "Well, what do you mean what it means to me?" What it means." And I say, "Open, open." And again, there's no rules because some nudges are exactly book nudges. I have a friend that when he has a dream, when there's a significant aspect of his dream, he goes into Google and says, "What does this mean in a dream?" And he says, very often it very much supports where I am in my life. And I say, well, then you are serving your spirit because your spirit is nudging you to go to Google to look. So do you see the difference in that? But if you just arbitrarily believe everything you read, then you're doing a disservice to your spirit. I always say, reach in and what does it mean to you? Does the numbers 222 mean, um, I don't even know the book meaning, but does that mean that to you? Yeah. Okay. Then when you see 222, that is what you're getting. It isn't what I would be getting. That I have no connection to 3 twos. Um, but another person might. So lean into what you feel spiritual and remember that when you need it, the universe is doing their best to send it. So open those psychic senses, those psychic abilities you have, and trust what comes. Another example I have is I had a colleague, I had a reading, I'm sorry, and this person said, Cheryl, I need your help. I'm going nuts. And I said, all right, I'll open to spirit. What speaks to you? And then he says, I wake up every day at 3:33. And I said, okay. Why? And I said, well, I'm gonna serve that back to you. Why do you think? I don't know. That's why I'm here. I need answers. And I say, and this client was very spiritual, very much had an open spiritual conversation, was fully awakened. So that's important to note because how we receive messages responds to where we are in this forgetting and being awakened stage in our human journey. So stay true to where you are and what you need. And so through channeling, I told this client that he was waking himself up, and he at first he's like, "I don't get that." And I say, "I understand. But remember what we need is what we get." And your higher self, and what was being told to me is his higher self was giving him that spiritual nudge of waking up at 3:33 every day to make a spiritual point to his human self. Now review and rewind that, right? His higher self was giving his human self that aha, that spiritual mule kick of sort to reach out to me, to investigate this, to understand why he would be doing this. Because he was saying, I'm waking up exhausted. I can't sleep. And I said, that's part and parcel of your higher self giving you an experience that you can't overlook, that you need to walk towards for reasons of his spiritual purpose. And long story being short, it was a spiritual guide, kind of opening for that salutation, for that welcoming, for that introduction of sort. And if I recall correctly, then there was a piece of where he was in his life that needed some attention. So again, our spiritual universe, which includes our higher self, anything of light, I always kind of use that as a collective because we all are connected. We all have God center in us. So we all have a connection. We are all bound in light. So I use universal very, very collective. So anytime that you're doing an aha or you're digesting and you feel a nudge or a tinge, I need to validate that with my light. Because remember, your heart has all your answers. It has all of your answers. They aren't as cut and dry as our human self wants them to be, right? They're not that way because we're here having an earthly journey. We are here in the noise, the earth noise, in trying to navigate that. So be open to your interpretation. But when you want to validate, like my dime, if I wanted to validate, if I said, could that be for whatever reason? Maybe I had a little ego coming into that and said, no, it's too far fetched. I found a dime. It was a quarter. It doesn't make sense, right? That wasn't my experience, but how about if I did have that kind of questioning and I wanted to validate, or you want to validate anything, right? Was that really mom that came when I was thinking of her and that cardinal was just looking at me? Was that mom saying hello? So again, validate any time that you choose. And I'm just going to use a quick reference. I have a longer it's called the love technique, which is more of a technique or a strategy. But a quick reference, I'm gonna use the acronym CAR, C-A-R, clear, ask, receive. So clear the earth's chatter, ask, be very specific, and receive. What comes back to you? And if what comes back to you feels light and right, or you need to take another run, maybe you're getting clearer on your question or you have a follow-up question, ask it. You are not to have anything withheld of light and love. Anything that you ask for, you receive. And your heart has all your answers. I'm going to take a quick break and then I'm going to share with you the inspiration that came synchronicity. I know I'm saying that wrong. Through synchronicity for me by spirit as well. I'll be right back. So, my share today is truly the whole reason that I was inspired to write this episode. So stay with me. I'm going to unfold this because I want you to see how it kind of came through. I I have been so busy in my spiritual life. I'm writing a book. I'm really at the end and moving all different directions. I'm in so many different places and in readings and teachings and that sort of thing. And I was becoming overwhelmed. I'm like, I know I need to do another podcast episode. Send me some inspiration. Um, send me what my next topic will be. And very often I get them through readings. I get them all different ways. This was a little unique. So I'm going to share this with you. So I was at home and I wasn't, as you know, I have my beautiful dog, my Lucy. She's actually sitting right here next to me as I'm talking. And I wasn't feeling like taking Lucy for a walk. It was an abnormal time. I can't remember. It was late morning, maybe early afternoon. I was working. And I said, I'll take her for a walk later. And then I got a nudge, no, just walk her now. And say, okay. And that little hesitation that I say matters because of the synchronicity that followed. That little nudge, just take her now. All right, I'll take her now. So I decided to go and I took her to the park. And I don't usually visit the park at this time. It's a walking park. So I don't usually see the people that I normally would see if I went at a different time because they work and that's their routine. But I did see two people that I do know on a friendly basis, kind of a walk in the park type of relationship. And so the first man I met as I was walking, we were just chatting, and he said, I just returned from a mini vacation at a friend's ocean home. And he was retired. He's a beautiful man. And he said, oh, Cheryl, it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. You want to see a picture? I said, I'd love to. And he showed me this beautiful picture of a sunrise. And he said, I walked the beach. And he goes, I could feel my mom there. And I said, really? And I said, tell me more about that. And he said, he explained that his mom, while she was in the late stages of hospice, because she loved the beach so much, asked for him to take her to the beach. And so when he walked the beach, he said, I could feel her. And I just listened because I knew he wanted to say more. And he goes, Cheryl, you're not going to believe this. And I truly don't even know if this man knows I'm a medium. So I just listened. And here's a big aha. He said, And as I'm walking and I'm thinking of her in such joy and light and missing her, I could smell her perfume. And then he just began to tear up. And he said, I don't know how I could smell her perfume, Cheryl. We were on a beach. I mean, he was by himself. He goes, I was alone on the beach. And I said, and as you recall, my audience out there, when we have tears in these type of moments, they're truth, inner healing. So I explained to him that when we smell or have a sense of taste of a loved one on the other side, those are sensory memories that only come or that mainly come as proof that spirit's with you, because those senses don't exist on the other side. There's no smelling and there's no taste on the other side. And that perfume was synchronicity for him and his spiritual mule kick. And when I delicately explained that to him, he was like, I know. There's no way I would have smelled her perfume. I go, she was with you. She was with you in this walk. And that just gave him what he needed. It was a spiritual hug. And he really resonated with it because, again, our spirits know, but sometimes our human self needs that reminder or needs those words to open up our hearts to really feel that and to come into that knowing. I know it was her. And I was just that tinge of validation for him, for what he already knew. But again, ego will come in and it will try and sway you and move you from that. And again, that synchronicity of meeting me for him helped seal that for him. It helped give him quiet validation. And I'm not done, because then I met a second person on that same walk. And it's a woman I do know a little deeper. And she was talking to me. She goes, I'm so excited. I can't believe I'm meeting up with you today, Cheryl. And again, come back to the beginning when I was kind of nudged to head there. And she said she had recently lost a friend to cancer. And that most recently, I think it was in a day or so, she had the most vivid dream about her friend visiting her. And she woke up saying, holy mackerel, that, and I will say too, this person is awakened. She's very accepting of spirit, needs some validation, but much more awake. And she was like, Cheryl, it felt like she was visiting me. And I just sat and listened. She does know I'm a full medium. So I could sense that she wanted to finish her thoughts. And so she goes, and then I very rarely go on social media, very rarely. So she goes, but for whatever reason, that morning after that dream visit, that she was inquiring she was inquiring if that was real or not. She's like, was that real? And she's self-questioning herself at that time. And she goes, and I just flicked on Facebook, and she goes, and the first thing that arrived was your artwork, Cheryl, describing your 5-part dream series. That was her spiritual mule kick. That was her saying, oh, that absolutely was her visit. And again, what we need, we receive, right? And that she knew it. She knew that those fit tightly together. But she says, and now I'm seeing you at this time where you never come for a walk. I know that she visited me now. And again, she didn't need me to validate that for her. My presence was her validation, because she seeing me on top of that, that was her trilogy possibly, or her, I got this now, her clear knowing. And so I just, validated her feelings and validated her knowing. And that walk and that visit, both encounters, validated the other person's experiences and also validated what I asked for. earlier that day, I'd been sitting in my office asking Spirit, help me out here. I need some inspiration for a podcast, something that will speak to people, something that will speak to me. And it arrived. And so as I left there, I said, thank you, my beautiful universe, for you gave me what I needed as well. That divine timing and that knowing that, okay, that feels light and right, that synchronicity is my next episode. Now I need help building it. So again, I asked for their help, and you are on the receiving end of that right now. So we've journeyed today through the beauty of synchronicity, those moments of divine timing that remind us Spirit is always with us. Whether it's a dream, a scent, a song, a number, or a perfectly placed encounter, these experiences are not random. They're gentle nudges from our higher self, our loved ones, and our universal team. All of our light connections. They are reminders that we never walk this path alone. My walk with Lucy that day became the inspiration for this episode. Those encounters weren't only validation for the people I met, they were confirmation for me as well, giving me exactly what I had asked for and needed. That's the gift of synchronicity. Its timing often feels weird or even funny, what I like to call a spiritual mule kick, showing up in just the right way to deliver what we need when we need it. So let this episode remind you, when synchronicity shows up, pause and notice it. Validate it if you need to. Clear away the noise. Ask for what you need and trust what resonates as truth. Spirit is always walking beside us, guiding us and gently pointing us back to the love of home. And as always, remember, if it feels light, it is right. May that mantra guide you always. Have a beautiful day. Thank you for allowing me to accompany you on your journey today. There's so much for us to explore and learn together. If there's a light-filled topic you're curious about, or if you just want to reach out, I'd love to connect. Follow me on social media at Cheryl Bradley Medium, or visit CherylBradley.com to explore my offerings and events. I hope today's episode has filled you with the light to carry with you until we meet again. And let the title of this podcast stay with you today and every day. If it's light, it's right. Blessings on your journey.